Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Saturday, February 4th, 2023. Good morning. I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with last night's episode of WWE Smackdown, broadcast live on Fox from the Bon Secours Wellness Arena in Greenville, South Carolina. In the show's closing segment, Sami Zayn confronted undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns for the first time since leaving the Bloodline at the Royal Rumble. Zayn attacked the champion and issued a challenge to him for his title, but was beaten down by Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. Reigns then granted Zayn a match for the Elimination Chamber on February 18th.
You hear that? They want Jay, but I don't have Jay because you broke up my bloodline. My right-hand man isn't here because of you, Sam. You understand? I gave you the key to the kingdom. I gave you an invitation into the promised land. And what do? How do you repay me? You break up my family. So I'm going to give you what you want. But you're going to give me what I want. You understand me? I want you in Montreal. I want you at the Elimination Chamber. Because you broke up my family, and I'm gonna break you in front of your entire family, your parents, your wife, your child, all your family friends, all your relatives, everybody. I want them to see what happens when you play with the bloodline and you mess with my family. I'll see you soon.
In the finals of the tournament to determine the number one contenders to the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, Ricochet and Braun Strowman defeated Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser of Imperium. The SmackDown Tag Team title is currently held by the Usos as one half of their undisputed WWE Tag Team title, but the status of the title remains unclear, with Jey Uso having seemingly walked away from the Bloodline as a result of the events at the Royal Rumble. In a fatal four-way, Natalya emerged victorious against Zelina Vega, Shotzi, and Shayna Baszler, making Vega tap out to the sharpshooter. As a result of the win, Natalya earns a place in the Women's Elimination Chamber match on February 18th. In other results, SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair defeated Sonya Deville, and the Viking Raiders beat Ridge Holland and Butch of the Brawling Brutes. After the win, the Raiders were run off by Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. In corporate news, WWE CEO Nick Khan appeared yesterday on CNBC Squawk on the Street to discuss the potential sale of the company with hosts Carl Quintanilla, David Faber, and Morgan Brennan.
Obviously, there's only so much I can say about it at this moment. But we've certainly got a warm reception in the marketplace from people who seem interested.
What are your expectations in terms of timing?
Quick. And I'm not trying to be obtuse in saying that.
No, that's okay.
But I think it's going to be a pretty fast process, maybe 3 months.
During the interview, while discussing potential WWE suitors, David Faber indicated that he has been told that CNBC's parent company Comcast, owner of WWE's streaming partner Peacock, is not interested in purchasing WWE.
A couple weeks ago, Wells Fargo said that strategics are likely limited to Netflix, Amazon, and our parent company, Comcast. Do you see it the same way?
Well, what do you think of the Comcast thing? Can you make that happen, or we don't know?
I'm actually hearing probably not. I hate to say it, but at this point, although another name I do hear is Endeavor. The idea of bringing together, for example, UFC and WWE could be very robust. Might get a significant multiple in the marketplace. You could even imagine a somewhat complex transaction called a reverse Morris Trust. Is that a possibility?
Look, I think they're all possible, and we're still bullish on Comcast being possible.
Also during the interview, Khan was questioned on the involvement of WWE Executive Chairman Vince McMahon and how that might impact an imminent sale.
There's no governing Vince McMahon, so any deal, you'd have to deal with Vince. Does that become a gating issue at all in terms of this process when those other buyers are looking to potentially take control, but really there's no taking control from Vince?
Well, by the way, you're right. It's very tough to take control from him. And he's built an empire which has certainly been good by me and for me. But no, Vince has declared to the board, to me, to other upper management, he is 100% open to a transaction where he's not included in the company moving forward. I really believe he's looking for the best value for the shareholders. Keep in mind, he's also a large shareholder. He's 77 years old, and I think he's ready to take a look at the landscape.
Khan was adamant during the discussion that McMahon would be willing to step aside under the right circumstances and that his remaining in charge of the company would not necessarily be a condition of sale.
And finally, I just want to come back to something you've already said, but I want to make sure I understood. I mean, because I do get pushback on the idea that Vince McMahon would ever step aside. but it's your belief that if the right deal is found, and that's a big if, he would be willing to do so.
100%, without question. And by the way, just to correct myself, we launched on Peacock in March of 21, not last year, so I apologize for that. But with Vince, 100%, if it's the right deal, and I think we're all going to take a look at all of the factors that make it the right deal, if it doesn't involve him, it's no issue.
AEW presented a pre-recorded edition of Rampage last night on TNT, featuring matches taped Wednesday night at the Nutter Center in Dayton, Ohio. The opening match saw the Elite successfully defend the AEW World Trios title against Isaiah Cassidy, Ethan Page, and Matt Hardy of The Firm.
One winged angel! They're not done.
No, they're not. There's an exclamation point being put on this match.
BTE trigger.
In the form of a BTE trigger and a 3 count. Fascinating. Amazing teamwork. The Bucks, Kenny Omega. Who's better? I say nobody.
Here are your winners and still AEW World Trios Champions, the Elite.
Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks successful here tonight, but now they turn their attention to Wednesday at Dynamite, where they'll have Top Flight. They are Fox.
This was the first defense of the title for Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks since they regained the title on January 11th, and also Omega's first match back since that day after resolving work visa issues. Earlier in the show, Swerve Strickland beat Brian Pillman Jr. Following the win, Strickland was joined by Parker Boudreaux and Trench in beating down Pillman until Dustin Rhodes made the save. In other results, Tony Storm and Saraya beat the Renegade Twins, and Roosh defeated Christopher Daniels in the main event. This was Daniels' first televised AEW match since last July. He faced Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli on the ROH Jay Briscoe tribute show last month. In health-related news, Maria Kanellis underwent thyroid surgery yesterday to remove a nodule containing abnormal cells that could be precancerous, according to a post on her official Instagram. Kanellis indicated in the post that she had been experiencing related symptoms for the past 2.5 years, but had not focused on addressing them due to several factors, including the pandemic, raising her children, and difficulties in her career. Kanellis thanked her husband Mike Bennett, as well as Tony Khan and other AEW officials for their support. Kanellis predicted she should be able to get back to work after approximately 2 weeks. Turning to Japan, New Japan Pro Wrestling held the first of 2 back-to-back shows today at the Hokkaido Prefectural Sports Center in Sapporo. In main matches, Francesco Akira and TJP made the 4th defense of their IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles, defeating Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Doki when Akira pinned Doki. Also, Will Ospreay defeated Taichi, and in the main event, Tetsuya Naito knocked off Shota Umino. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.